I'm an ex-GB rower and triathlete, and also an ex-paratrooper. I'm now 45, I'm married with teenage kids, but every few years I feel the need to check whether I've still got it. This year it's been all about keeping it local, so for me that's meant the South Downs Way. It's a reasonably challenging one-day bike ride, it's about 100 miles. So I thought it'd be interesting to see how fast I could do it. And then I heard about the double. That got me scared and excited. For the day job, I've been running a numeracy charity, so I knew that the numbers would be key to success. You can spend a lot of money on bikes. I didn't want to, so I got a carbon hardtail online for about £1,000. I really wanted 2 chain rings given the 22,000 feet of climbing, and then I pimped the bike up with rigid forks from Carbon Cycles and with hand-built wheels from DCR Wheels. So with that setup, it was a bit under 9 kilos for the bike. So power is something that's really come into play since I was last trying to ride bikes fast. And I didn't even know what FTP stood for a year ago. I thought I'd better find out and then try and improve my FTP. And I started off on about 300 watts and got it up to about 360 watts. With 1 turbo a week, 1 hill climbing session a week, long rides on weekends, bit of strength and conditioning, and yoga most days. I also did a bit of tabbing for old time's sake. So all up, this meant about 15 hours of training a week, peaking on over 20 hours. As a result, I stripped off about 5 kilos of body weight, down to 75 kgs. There's no point having a light bike, but a really heavy body. After a 16-week training block, I was as ready as I was ever going to be, so it was about waiting for the right conditions. On Saturday the 24th of April, I caught the train to Eastbourne and rode an easterly tailwind to Winchester pretty fast, maybe the fastest ever. The following Saturday, the weather looked okay for the double, with not too much wind and maybe some rain. So I chased the sun for 200 miles, starting as soon as I could see and finishing about 10 minutes before it was pitch black. The biggest thing on the day is pacing, and then getting the big 3 of hydration, nutrition and electrolytes right. Having input from Andy and the team at PH on this was great. On the one way, I knew I had decent form and I was tapered, so I was confident I could go out hard and just hang on. Especially as the route gets a lot easier towards Winchester. This worked great, but I knew that it would be nuts to do this for the double. For the double, the pacing strategy was about building into it. So I had in my head 80 miles easy, 80 miles at tempo pace, and then 40 miles racing. Of course, in reality, in the last few hours, you're not really racing, you're just hanging in there. But you need to think about building into it if you're going to make it. Having Andy and Johnny joining me around Winchester was a great morale boost.
Right, we're on Butser Hill. Mike, how you doing?
Hanging out of my backside.
112 miles in?
I don't know, I'm
something like that.
Trying not to count.
You're looking good, mate.
On fueling, the solid fuel was going down well, but I got thrown by just how cold it was. So I was taking in too much fluid and not quite enough electrolytes. After a couple of pee stops, I eventually realised what was going on. The weather gods were mostly on my side, but I had a bit of a laugh towards the end with heavy rain coming out of Winchester, which meant it became more about just trying to stay warm enough to get to the finish for most of the last leg. But I did, and the weather's been rubbish since, so it was the right day to go. Overall, it's been a 1-year project, and it's been amazing. Moving fast across such a beautiful landscape is a privilege. I now know the route pretty well, so if anyone wants to do it, give me a shout.